It is the 10th of November. Welcome to Clown World News. Here we go. Coronavirus. Children forgetting how to use a knife and fork in lockdown, says Sky News. For real? Let's see the article. So I'm going to have a little look at this article now. Let's see what they've got to say for themselves. Oh yeah, and please excuse the mess in the background here. This is my spare room where it's like our kind of office where we do some work from home and some other stuff. So if you just ignore the background mess, that would be great. I'm going to flick between screens here, so bear with me. Children hardest hit by COVID-19 nursery and school closures are regressing in basic skills like using a knife and fork, according to Ofsted. Well, I mean, realistically, is it down to the school to teach children how to use a knife and fork? I don't think so. I think that's the parents' job. Why are the parents not doing this? So the very opening of the article kind of it lays blame onto schools. It takes it away from parents, and I think there's a lot of this kind of thing going on at the minute where parental responsibility is being passed off to schools, where parents want schools to do all these basic jobs for them, like teaching children how to use a knife and fork. Really? I'm pretty sure my parents taught me how to use a knife and fork. There's no way I was taught that at school. It's ridiculous. So anyway, it goes on. In a series of reports, the government education watchdog, Ofsted I presume, said children had fallen behind with their mathematics and were struggling with literacy. Well, now that makes sense because obviously if schools are closed or you're doing home learning, it can be way more difficult for parents to teach their children. I mean, I know myself, our son was home from school because of the COVID thing. The bubble burst and we had to teach him at home. I mean, luckily my wife is actually a teacher, a primary school teacher. My son's in secondary school. And obviously she was at work herself. But the school actually put like distance learning in on the computer via Zoom or whatever it was. It was one of those things, the meeting programs. So the teachers actually taught live lessons to them. And if I'm perfectly honest, I think they did quite a good job under the circumstances at school. But anyway, I can understand that children would be struggling with mathematics and literacy. I mean, how would you not be if you're supposed to be being taught by your teachers? And if that's not happening, then clearly, you're going to struggle at home if you've got people who can't even teach you how to use a knife and fork trying to be in charge of your mathematics and literacy learning. I mean, if that's the level you're at, then you're definitely going to end up with problems. So anyway, let's have a little look what else is going on here. While school leaders have reported a rise in older people self-harming or suffering from eating disorders. Well, again, yeah, I'm sure kids are depressed, struggling from being at home all the time and struggling from being away from their friends. That can't be healthy for kids at all. It just goes to show we shouldn't be having this lockdown as far as I'm concerned. The article goes on. Excuse me. We have now entered a second national lockdown. This time, at least, schools, colleges and nurseries are to remain open. That is very good news indeed, said Ofsted Inspector Amanda Spielman. Yeah, that is good news. I mean, one of the few positives, I suppose, that the schools are staying open. The impact of school closures in the summer will be felt for some time to come. Yeah, no shit. And not just in terms of education, but in all ways they impact on the lives of young people. Yeah, again, like, take my son, for example. I mean, he's 11. He had 6 months solid off school, if you include the summer holidays, and then he was back at school for, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe. And then his bubble burst. So he was back at home then. With his home learning, not being able to socialise for 14 days solid with other children. That's not good, is it? Let's see what else we've got here then. The report into the effects of the pandemic is based on more than 900 visits to education and social care providers across England during September and October. Yeah, well, it's not the effects of the pandemic, it's the effects of government policy, as far as I'm concerned. It suggests some toilet-trained children whose parents were unable to work more flexibly in lockdown have returned to early years settings using nappies and dummies at an older age than expected by providers. So you're telling me these children were at school beforehand, toilet-trained, not using dummies presumably, and then have turned up back at school wearing nappies, using dummies. because parents weren't able to work more flexibly. Well, somebody was looking after those kids, and whoever was looking after those kids, why on earth would you put them back in nappies? Why would you let them use a dummy? Use some common sense, use some discipline, pull your finger out, stop making excuses for shit parenting. That's what I think. Using nappies. So like what, 4 or 5 year olds come to school with nappies on? That's outrageous. That's disgraceful. And not because of the schools, because of crap parenting, which is often the problem. I'm sure some people will disagree with that. I'm not bothered, but that is what it is. There are lots and lots and lots of shit parents out there. Inspectors found children's experiences were not necessarily determined by privilege or deprivation, rather that those children who are coping well have good support structures around them. Yeah, no shit. If you're bringing children into the world, you should support them. You should have a good support structure in place. You should look after your children. Just do the basics, do your job as a parent. It's not rocket science. PR consultant Gemma Burbeck said she had to teach her 11-year-old son Lewis how to make friends again. Seriously? She said, "My son was cut off from people for so long and it affected his ability to socialise. We had to explain to him the way to talk to new people and form friendships." I can kind of understand that in a way because, yeah, he won't have socialised much, but then, like, I think I've got an 11-year-old. I don't think I had to teach him how to make friends again. I mean, that's a strange thing to say. The problem is they are only allowed to socialise within their bubbles. So if he doesn't find friends with similar personalities, he's at risk of loneliness or worse, bullying. Well, that's the case. Full stop. It's secondary school. Obviously, yeah, it doesn't make it easier if you've only got a small circle of children that you can mix with. But when I think of the bubble that, like, I keep using my son as an example, but that's the only first-hand example I've got. So he's 11. He's in a bubble of half a year group. I mean, that's quite a lot of children. Realistically, are you going to be mixing with kids outside of your sort of year group anywhere? This seems like a bit of a non-point to me. I mean, I don't know his personal circumstances here, but, yeah, lockdown's not good. Basically, that's what this article is saying. Lockdown is not a good thing. The Ofsted report also highlighted that school leaders are concerned about their budgets as covering for staff absences are pushing up costs. Yeah, no shit. Elroy Cahill, I think I'll put the picture up here. Head teacher at Kingsley Academy in West London said the school spent its entire year's budget on supply teaching staff before the October half term. Really? Because surely if those teachers were off because of COVID-related illness, their bubble would have burst, the children would have been at home. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. That seems a bit strange, but there seems to be a lot of talk about money from government organisations when we're talking about COVID-19. The article goes on. It has undoubtedly been a challenge with regards to trying to cover those absent colleagues. And there is an associated cost, of course, that's associated with that. Yeah, an associated cost that's associated with that. A Department for Education spokesman said, "We know that some children do need additional support to catch up as a result of the pandemic, which is why we've launched a £1 billion COVID catch-up fund for schools to support those children who need it." Excuse me. The latest report from Ofsted suggests around half of schools visited by inspectors last month have now seen an increase in homeschooling, which heads say has been motivated by families' anxieties about COVID-19 rather than because educating at home had gone well during the first lockdown. So people are so frightened of this virus, they watch too much news on the telly, they watch too much BBC news, scaring the shit out of them. The kind of Corona Karen people. They're watching too much news. They're frightened of COVID-19. They think COVID-19 is going to kill their children, which it's not. I don't think there's any threat really from COVID-19 for children. Send them to school. If you've got concerns, just send them to the damn school. Yeah, lockdown sucks. That's basically what this article says, and it's true. Real news. Fact check it. So that's the end of this article. I hope you enjoyed my take on the article and my insights into it. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. It would be great to get some more subscribers, so if you feel like doing so, please like, comment and subscribe. I've got to go to work now, so I will catch you later. Ta-ra for now.